If you can't tell by now, Earth life is a joke. Everything is corrupt. These treacherous times, and yes, I say treacherous, the scale of deception is unreal. It is abundantly evident that we are all being played, massively played. The plebeian class of any society and the patrician class of any society have always had their beefs throughout history. But every now and again, there comes a time when the light of the Lord penetrates an unimaginable darkness and sheds light to expose to a society a new reality, a new awareness of that reality, anyway. A paradigm shift, a reset. Exposure that creates such a jarring ruin to our understanding of our societal management that we are forced to a binary decision. Either bring it to a halt, like immediately, or capitulate. We are in such a time. I don't know how much more you all need to see, but for me, it's exceedingly clear. We live under the values of a satanic doctrine, packaged as palatable secularism for the spiritually unaware, perpetuated by an elite ruling class of world money supply controllers, unelected bureaucrats, world leaders, politicians, and captains of industry. Without pointing to any one specific name, you all know exactly what I'm talking about. And we can confidently conclude that much to be true. And I don't care what side of the aisle you're on. I don't know about you, but for that to be the general state of things, buzzing in the background of our Amazon shopping, our Netflixing, and our Xboxing as an unacknowledged white noise of our standard existence, treating the rape, slaughter, and cannibalism of our children like the hum of an appliance because the system is just too damn important to us that we have to keep it running. Really? That's who we are. If what we know now is left anywhere in the realm of acceptability, then we have fallen as a nation and as a species. If we can keep it business as usual right now, we won't revolt about anything, ever. As much as we can, we all need to unplug from the machine. Like now, just turn it off. But we turn it back on again when we decide to do it, when our conditions are met. If we can't get accountability, we can simply deliver our demands in the form of pecuniary protests. Simply put, save your money. A war of attrition is the only way to stop the gears of the machines perpetuating these atrocities. Essentials for living are obviously non-negotiables. I'm talking about the unnecessary discretionary spending, the stuff we're just throwing money down the drain for in order to help the next person or group of people get rich. Meanwhile, aiding and abetting all of the illicit activity through our spending. At the very least, we need to more thoroughly scrutinize the brands and companies that we transact with. Make sure the revenue streams actually align with our values. We should cut the non-essential cash flow completely off. Cut the cash flow pipelines off, like all of them, right now. Remember when they tried to tell us whose jobs were non-essential? Yeah. Without question, we have the power to decide which companies getting our money are essential or not. Those revenue streams all lead uphill to the people who are implicated in the largest scale human predation discovery in modern history. I mean, just stop your routine for a moment and just think. Bodies on top of bodies on top of bodies for no reason other than the personal pleasure of an elite few? Are you kidding me? We let that be our ruling class. That's who governs us. That's who leads us. That's who supplies our goods, teaches our children. We're talking about the perpetuators of child sex abuse, snuff murder films, ritualistic sacrifice. These evils are in our general awareness now. There's no denying it. The dots are connected and out in the open. Now you're just deciding to be willfully ignorant towards it. I mean, can you really just go get another overpriced latte right now? The indifference some of us are displaying is just really hard to stomach for me, and it's why I've withdrawn from a lot of people and places over the years, because I can't entertain the mundane anymore. I just can't. In my effort to get closer to God, I equate the season I've been in as John on Patmos. He got alone. And most who needed revelation from God in the Bible, they went out into the wilderness and cut themselves off from distraction when they wanted clarity in what God was telling them. And so I've withdrawn a great deal, but I can no longer. How much more will we endure? Some will ask, why do we have to stop spending money? Well, because follow the yellow brick road, ladies and gentlemen. It all leads to the same wizard. I get it. Most of you won't do it. Nah, you're thinking, he sounds crazy. And if I agree, people will think I'm crazy too. I get it. You're asleep. And so you'll do nothing. That's what history will call that type. The do-nothings who capitulate. Decidedly kept funding the channels, making it possible to commit genocide, child abuse, human trafficking, and ritualistic murder. You're voting for that with your dollars. Consciously sending your hard-earned money to people who would revel in the opportunity to spit in your face to say thank you. And you wonder why some of these elite players call us dumb cattle. Real ones will know what I'm talking about. I mean, how crazy does it have to get? What level of human-inflicted atrocities must we see before we're disturbed about who is actually leading, managing, and governing our societies? Who are they? Why are they not under the microscope with the utmost scrutiny right now? Why is there a class of protectors keeping them hidden? And what is this untouchable class hiding in darkness? We can't still be afraid of looking crazy for questioning these people. The Bible has always instructed us to do so. Paul's letter to the Ephesians tells us that's exactly who we're supposed to scrutinize and push back on if they're serving wickedness. It's the aristocracy, the oligarchy, the principalities, the authorities serving wickedness in high places, spiritual wickedness. Whatever you want to call the members of the ruling class serving this wickedness in high places. The days of being called a tinfoil hat wearing conspiracy theorists are over. It's the coincidence theorists catching side-eye now. The ones eating the slop and trusting the experts. The lemmings. I mean, look, if Alex friggin' Jones is batting 1,000, there is no speculation that is off the table anymore. Nothing too taboo. Not anymore. It all needs to be teased apart and either proven true or falsified. It's all too wild. Nothing's off the table. I mean, the jig is up. The world is actually even crazier, darker, and more complex than any of us ever imagined. And the political arena is a joke too. It is WWE level theatrical distraction at this point. It's sports entertainment, teams and everything. This is not a left versus right wing thing anymore. It is good versus evil, light versus darkness. There's many who are consciously serving darkness. I get that. So I'm not talking to you. You will be self-proclaimed protectors of the status quo. I'm talking to the ones who are fed up, who know the Lord is not happy and is grieved, and that his grace and mercy abide right now. But he came as the Prince of Peace and the Lamb for our salvation before. He's coming with holy judgment next, and none will escape it. Even the ones who aided and created an environment for those types of evils to thrive and turned a blind eye to it, we will be held accountable. The Lord tells us that ultimately we will find that there are only two kingdoms in this world. Cat Williams eloquently elucidated on this on the Shannon Sharp interview. He said, there's God's side and then the other side. Period. That's the only black and white issue that matters. Everything else is a distraction. Everything else is a psychological operation to pit us against each other here so that we never collectively realize who's against all of us. Everyone must take personal inventory of their moral character right now and make a decision about what we will tolerate from the most powerful and influential people in our society, who we get our entertainment from, who's running our education system. Everything needs to be examined, top to bottom, in a Doge style level of scrutiny and alignment of our better interests, our best interests. And if we don't see that, we pull the plug. But what are we afraid of? Are we really going to keep taking all of this abuse in exchange for their bread and their circus? It's worth it? Yeah? Your binge watching, your lattes. People of the feeds, awaken from your desensitized robotic state. Now, more than ever, truth and accountability are our primary pursuits. It's the only thing that will save us. Everything else is a distraction from that. Our consumerism, all the isms. What else matters more than getting a real grip on our shared reality and maneuvering accordingly so that our kids don't have to inherit a global apparatus of atrocious iniquity propped up by reprobated minded representatives, pernicious political leadership as a system of governance? What? And I know 80% of you don't have the mental wherewithal to push back on authority, which is why you took that jab. And I'm sorry for you and I pray for you. But it's time to come out of that stupor. These people are not our leaders. They care nothing about you. In fact, they want to displace you, remove you out of the human population. They want to downsize. They want to install a new era of neo-feudalism. And the rest of us, the ones who are left, according to their vision, will just be in perpetual serfdom. There's no more jobs. The robots are getting those. This is the future that they're painting. Ask Yuval Harari what he and the World Economic Forum are ushering us into. I know as Americans, we have our own fractures, but it's time to sideline our political disagreements. They're petty. All of that stuff is being used to fracture our communities and distract us from all looking up collectively and seeing with clarity who and what the upper echelon is up to. That's the real game. Don't look up. They even made a movie about that. They always tell us through the movies, but that's an episode for another day. That's what they can't have us do. That unanimous aha moment. They can't have that. That's why they lie to us, propagandize us, and pit us against each other. And why they kill the dissidents with meaningful influence that they can't control with their money or their blackmail machine. Rest in peace, Charlie Kirk. Rest in peace, Martin Luther King. Rest in peace, Malcolm X. Rest in peace, Medgar Evers. Rest in peace, JFK. Rest in peace, Bobby Kennedy. So on and so forth. And we watch it happen in broad daylight. It is time for us to all unite against this darkness as one nation under God, meaning his standards, whether you believe in him or not, indivisible. That has always been the key for us to maintain as the bastion of freedom on this earth. And why they need us to hate each other. It's the only way to bring it down, is to ununite these here United States. And with liberty, they are attacking our personal sovereignty. They're coming after our property rights as we speak. And justice, what they want to escape, needs to be for all. That is the American way. And to all my freedom-loving fellow American brothers and sisters who do not yet believe in the Lord, I am here to say to you that the enemies of God are your enemies too. I'll say that again. The enemies of God are your enemies too. Why? Because the enemies of God, no matter their race, religion, they all have one common thread. They all deny him, and they are hell-bent on world domination. Personal autonomy and freedom of any kind do not exist in their ideal systems of control. They are literally raising hell as we speak and will gladly bring death and destruction to whomever is in the way of their pursuits. And Americans are no exception. Just because we see the bombings happening elsewhere, it's coming home soon. And they justify it with mandates from their religious doctrines. Whether you want to believe it or not, your freedoms in this country are hinged on the ideals of objective morality and an assessment of inherent value on all human life, only found in the Christian worldview. The one true Abrahamic faith whose followers extend the Lord's grace to the unbeliever. That is not so in the worldview of the enemies of God. Without Christian values, the erosion of freedoms and acts of evil have no grounds for condemnation. If morality is subjective, one can easily argue these acts as being pragmatic, statistically viable, preferentially acceptable within their culture, or even necessary. They will label it anything but the evil that it is. God ultimately defines wickedness. First and foremost, we must die to self, kill the sin within us to be in alignment with Him. He commands that so that we can be positioned for righteous judgment, because you got to get that log out of your eye before you start talking about the speck in the next person's. I'm not here to cast righteous judgment on the unbeliever because they don't know any better. They're not using the standards of God's morality. Yeah, I'm talking to the church right now. We're the ones that need to lock in. His ways are protection, not deprivation. We need to be blameless spiritually to cast down demonic strongholds. We cannot be in covenant with them. We cannot be in agreement with them. His enemies are the enemies of freedom, those who obstruct it or render our personal sovereignty ineffective by both overt and covert means, the ones aiming to be upon us ruthlessly. If you're not familiar with the book of the law, I suggest you get familiar if you are to understand the view from the top down when it comes to these devout followers of Satan and Luciferians and the like. His enemies are the enemies of truth, the ones actively redefining words and breaking fundamental agreements about objective reality. They are writing our histories, curating our stories, and presenting the visual narratives that shape our own perceptions of reality. That's a powerful group. If you can believe the absurdities, you will excuse the atrocities. And so that's why they are in full control of all narratives. This is why Steve Jobs said, the most powerful person on the planet is the storyteller. I'll let that marinate. It's the ones whose dealings dwell in darkness, transactions so sinister and corrupt, in pursuit of the most heinous acts one can imagine. We're talking about evil for evil's sake, being directed at the most vulnerable and innocent. Don't get me started about Hollyweird and how much this evil cabal uses it to tell on themselves to avoid karmic retribution from their point of view. That's a whole episode. But in 2006, Paul Walker starred in a film called Running Scared. I can't think of a more perfect microcosm snapshot of how corrupt our world really is and what archetypes to look out for. Because the absolutely most evil people in that film would be the least suspected of the insidious things they were actually up to. A wealthy couple luring children to their home. They had a plastic-lined rape and murder kill room that looked like a child's playroom with an abundance of toys and games. With cameras set up for all the documentation, this would have looked like Disneyland to a 5-year-old. Do you think the writers got these concepts out of the blue one day? People are doing things so evil, they couldn't even be accomplished without massive orchestration and massive intent that one can only equate to an actual bloodlust on an industrial scale. Without any reservation or fear of ridicule, ladies and gentlemen, I present to you the reality of a vampiric class of people running our society. So now what? And some will say, you're just picking on the controllers of society because they're an easy target to blame. Look, I'm not saying every one of them, but let's not fool ourselves. Ultimately, this is a marketplace. The big money involved behind the demand, delivery, and discretion of the most despicable supply chain ever derived. A supply chain with a very expensive barrier to entry. You have to buy your way in with massive capital. Think about it. There is an entire group of people devoting resources and their own private wealth and power to create pipelines of people just to abuse, harm, maim, murder, and even consume them. Say something else about the Super Bowl. Say something else about any entertainer. Did you hear what I said? Are you that brain dead? You have no visceral reaction to what's going on, but you have more of a reaction to either denouncing or protecting the Bad Bunnies of the world? But either way, either end of the discussion, that's what we're talking about. That's how easily you all fall for the hook, line, and sinker and get off track of what really matters. Instead of just watching the circus, now they got you arguing and debating the circus. Wow. When they're eating kids and babies. You're debating on which act the circus should have had. You're goofy. There are people running the world who have more in common with Jeffrey Dahmer than they do you and I, regular folk, just trying to earn a living and create a security for our family. They have nothing in common with us. That's why they have a false sense of superiority. Is this the shadow side of Maslow's hierarchy of human needs? It seems many who have successfully reached this pinnacle of self-actualization suffer from an insatiability that stems from being so far removed from the baseline gratifications of food, shelter, and community. Like those things, they're so up there and full of themselves that they can't even relate to you on a human level. They can easily see you as an animal, as cattle, as food. What we are striving for in life, they assign no value to, or they take it for granted. They don't spend their time trying to create stability for their families, nurturing their relationships in their communities, or sharing love. That's not what they're in pursuit of. They are in pursuit of hedonistic pleasure and self-satisfaction above all else. These are inherently demonic pursuits with diminishing returns of satisfaction that require further and further walks down the road of immorality to chase their highs. This is what makes them feel alive, because they don't have the Lord. They don't have the Holy Spirit living in them. They cannot see through the lens of eternity. It's just the here and the now. They are addicted to the adrenaline of wrongdoing because basic goodness is simply too boring for them now. They are soulless and want to feel something, and this makes them feel powerful. And power is the most addicting drug. Inflicting pain gives them a rush. This is the classic pathology of a psycho. And we are now faced with the prospect of coordinated hordes of them running the globe. I mean, these aren't one-off fringe cases anymore. This is an entire system and class of people and industry supported through black markets. It's mainstream in and of itself amongst certain groups of people. They're doing this to kids by the millions annually. Don't forget Finkelstein with what he said about the 300 kids that they, in this country alone, are able to capture, to sacrifice in their Passover rituals. That's how perverted and demonic some of these people can be. Wealth and privilege takes a toll on the mind with zero awareness for the cost. I don't know what living a prolonged life, a multi-generational life with zero gratitude for anything leads to in the human psyche. I don't, but I think we're getting a glimpse. So by all accounts, the supply chain and demand engine of these markets of malfeasance, it's a pretty exclusive bunch. George Carlin said, "It's a big club." You ain't in it. I'll let that marinate. The bottom line is the Spirit of the Lord is pouring out over the earth right now and exposing everything in these end times, just like he said he would. His word does not come back void. If you don't know who Jesus is, I plead with you to find discipleship today before it's too late. Watchmen, it's our time now. We have been saying these things for years, but everyone else has finally caught up. Feel vindicated for the ridicule, but this is not the time for "I told you so" energy. Now, more than ever, we need to double down on our diligence to observe and report for the kingdom, because the smoke screens are coming. The propaganda machine is in full effect. If we are called to be the light of the world, then darkness is our natural enemy, which means persecution for his namesake is coming. It's already here. We see it all over the globe. But in the West, for the most part, we've been well insulated from the onslaught of Christian persecution. That season of blissful ignorance is over. But the Lord Jesus Christ, Yeshua Mashiach, the name above all names, he tells us to take heart, for he's overcome the world. So don't fret. Don't worry. Be concerned with obedience over all other things. That is your ultimate rebellion, your ultimate defense, your ultimate weapon is alignment with the Lord. It's time to be on guard. Stay vigilant, stay connected, stay aware. Vengeance is mine, saith the Lord. Christ is King.